All right. Hello, everyone. Hi. I want to thank you all so much for coming tonight. If you don't know where you are, this is Left Think Books presents Christina Hawatmeh for the year Time Stopped. And Left Think Books is St. Louis's oldest independent bookstore. We are celebrating 53 years this year. It is with your support that we are able to bring in such incredible authors like Christina. So when you support Left Think Books, not only are you buying an incredible book and supporting Christina, but you're also supporting Left Think Books. And when you support local, your money goes back into the local economy so much more. It helps fund your public schools. It helps fund your public libraries. It keeps your streets paved. It keeps the museums and the park free. So when you spend money in St. Louis, it helps the entire city of St. Louis. And I want to thank you for being a part of that today. I'm going to talk about tonight's book. So, Curated by the founders of Scopio, a community-based image marketplace, a stunning and unforgettable visual history that captures the world's response to major events that defined 2020. The COVID pandemic and the sweeping movements for racial and social justice. In 2020, the world experienced massive change, as I'm certain most of you are aware. Millions of lives were ended. And millions more upended by the COVID-19 pandemic. The shocking police killings of Black men and women gave rise to powerful social movements and widespread collective action to rectify centuries of injustice and racism in the United States and globally. Together, these three colossal events tested the resilience of the social fabric, bringing us all together. Attempting to illuminate and make sense of this new reality, photographers from around the world documented these transformational moments as they unfolded. Carefully combing through their archive, the founders of Scopio have curated these photographs to tell the story of the year 2020. It began with a collective sense of isolation and fear to eventually people coming together and protesting the social injustices that were uncovered later that year. Representing artists from around the globe, the year Time Stopped seeked to empower us and give credence to the extraordinary circumstances that changed our world. The 200 images in this striking visual collection are indelible, impassioned, and unforgettable. Taken together, they are a singular testament to this unprecedented time. Tonight, joining us, we have Brandon Taylor, who will be the conversation partner leading the conversation this evening. Brandon Taylor holds the title as the 2018 Smart, Funny, and Black winner for the St. Louis Tour Edition. Congratulations. He was also a finalist in Helium Comedy Club's 2020's St. Louis Funniest Person Contest. And tonight, the author that we are here to celebrate, Christina Hawatmeh. As CEO of Scopio, oversees vision and growth. She is the founder of the first female-founded NFT marketplace and first photography-focused NFT marketplace. Anyone, anywhere can share images and get hired for their creative skills on Scopio in less than 3 minutes. She was named Top Entrepreneurs to Follow by New York Finance and featured in CNN, Business Insider, and Forbes. Christina is based between New York and LA and is from our fantastic city of St. Louis. Yay. If you would please, another giant round of applause.
Thanks everyone for joining, and I'm excited I have a nice friend to kick off this very serious subject. This is a history book for everybody. They actually have books up front, but we're going to walk you through kind of what the book's about and how it came together. And I'll have Brendan make, again, light of this book. So just to start, this took us 2 years to create. It was something that I have been collecting photos for 10 years from social media. I started off Twitter collecting photos at the time from the Arab Spring. when people were like protesting for their freedoms in Egypt and other countries, and I wanted to save those pictures. And it was so hard to do that. So I wanted to create a system that would allow anybody to upload photos, and then we would save them, get all the rights for them, and then news outlets like Associated Press, Thomson Reuters could come to us, and that opened a floodgate for more than 1 million images now on the website from 190 countries, and people submit all sorts of stuff, like literally anything you can think about, not just kind of serious topics anymore, but they can have their own portfolio. And so during 2020, HarperCollins was one of my customers. They bought photos of like sunsets and couples and like nothing really serious, but I got a chance to meet the president of it, which goes to show you should really talk to everybody and not be afraid, because I think it was somebody very low level that was using it. And the president I ended up meeting, and I said, you know, we have all these really crazy photos from 2020, and the stories when they upload them are, everyone is giving me chills. And she said, why don't we write a book together? So I thought, okay, like how many pictures do you want? That they would write it and I would just supply them the photos. And she said, no, you have so much passion that I want you to write this book. And so she kind of gave me.
So she just put the buck on you, like, here's some work for you to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
She just felt it like in my voice, and I didn't make her. This was just over the phone.
And you know what's really amazing? Because she's so modest about it. This woman, she said, this is a book and a piece of history. No, this is a treasure jewel. If you haven't read it yet, I highly encourage you to purchase it. I spent the last few hours last night going through it, me and my fiance, and it really just took us back to a timeline of where we were, what we were doing. Because with media and content now, everything's coming instantly. News is trashed by in the first few seconds. So it's great that you put this together, because now we can go back and remember what we did in our resilience. So one more time. So I want to ask you a question. After she asked you to take on this project, what was your immediate thought on how to get this done?
I said something my dad taught me how to say. He said, what do you need from me? Like my dad is very good at that. What do you need from me? So like somebody gives you something, you like, and you have to be ready to take it. You can't kind of waver, or then they'll, like I felt like she was giving this like big moment, and I saw it. So I said, what do you need from me? She said, can you just put a little video together about what the book would be about? I saw you have a great social media. So I have a little video editor. He's 21 years old. And I said, can you make me 3 videos about different things that are happening this year? One, we did Black Lives Matter and injustices around the world. My business partner is from Lebanon, and there was a lot going on with uprisings there. Some of the pictures are here. And then we have the Black Lives Matter movement here and a few other countries of like very intense stuff. Then we had healthcare. So we got these pictures of like the weirdest things that were happening in hospitals and with nurses and doctors in all these different countries. Like there is literally a photo of them using a cardboard box to put the patient in case the patient died of COVID. They would just put them in the box, close it, and move it out. Things like that that were like, oh my God, like it's actually too much, because this book's in like Walmart and Target and like normal places that people go. So I'm like, I hope like a little kid doesn't open that page.
Well, at least they used a box, not a trash bag. That's really nice.
Good point.
Because that could have been really trash.
Some respect. So that was second, and the third one was like people at home, like cuddling, being cute, kids and stuff. And so she said, okay, like let's go. And then we went. I got a DocuSign, we signed it, and then it was, okay, how do we write a book? Nobody asked me, have you done this before? Do you know how to do it?
You have a trusting face. Does she have a trusting face?
No.
I think so. So, okay, so now working on the book, what were some of the pitfalls, hiccups, things that you had to overcome with writing this book?
Well, we only were able to pick 200. Like a book is finite, unfortunately. Where my website has 1 million plus pictures and new ones come every day and they just get uploaded. Here it was like there needs to be an end, and there needs to be only as many as you can pick. So we went through debates and fights and like deciding, and what helped us was that we broke the book into 2 sections, alone and together.
I saw that.
If you wrote a book, what would you break it into for 2020?
I probably would just break the book.
So we did alone and together. And then we have all these cute little like things that we wrote. And I actually hired my 21-year-old cousin to help me write this that just graduated from journalism school.
Look at you keeping it in the family.
So yeah, so she's like helped me and we came up with these cute things. And I actually liked it because I wanted that innocence in the writing. So when you look at things, they're written very simply and I wanted that.
You know what? That's one of my favorite parts about the book is that it's written in a way that I can understand it. Now, of course, I have a college degree, but reading's not my strong suit. I need things broken down. And sometimes you read books, they're using words, and now you have to go look and get another book. And so I appreciate you guys finding a way to appeal to us commoners. You did an amazing job.
Well, because I'm gotta talk simply.
Yeah, there you go. You gotta talk simply. Don't talk over our
When you
heads.
hear my parents' accents, you'll know why.
I know your dad seems like a pretty cool guy. Yeah, what do you want from me, son of a man who's been married a long time? He knows what he's talking about.
And has 4 daughters.
And he has 4 daughters?
Yeah, dude.
So he knows how to fight too.
He's learning how to back down.
Now, there was something in this book that I wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Actually, on the first chapter, what's it called? Empty spaces.
Empty spaces.
Now, one of my, I guess, memories about COVID was that there was no traffic. Does anyone else remember that?
Mhm.
The roads were just so clear. And that was such a beautiful experience. I want to thank COVID for that. I was able to get downtown in 5 minutes. What else was it about the empty spaces that you want to speak to us about?
I think actually this should have been the most expanded chapter of the book now that I think about it, because that's the one thing you can't really write about ever again. Like there is a picture of Times Square completely empty. And the photographers that talk about empty spaces say it was their playground because it was like creating their own movie set that they didn't have to pay for.
Wow.
So they could go, but they had to be brave. Otherwise they could get, hurt, or they could get COVID, or they could put somebody else at risk. But to them, for artists, it was like the most artistic thing that you could think of.
Definitely. Now, when COVID happened, where were you at personally during this journey? I know you were working on the book, but where were you at during COVID?
This book started in November 2020.
Okay.
And actually, like in the beginning of 2020, in March, I was in New York, and then my parents are doctors, so I decided to come home in an emergency. And I left all my stuff there. I hired a random guy I never met, and he packed all my stuff. He brought it back to St.
And you
Louis.
actually got it.
And I got it. Like my favorite photo was broken, but everything else came.
Give a hand for humanity, right?
So, but what we like with the empty space, back to the empty spaces. If you read some of these, the stories are actually way more wild than the photos themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And in here, you can see that the empty spaces, although these photos might look beautiful, there's actually some really dark stories behind them.
It's actually really chilling to
Like
watch.
These like airplanes
Yeah,
landed
to
here.
see all the airplanes landed, not moving. That's not normal for us. So it's really amazing that they captured that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
And dangerous and like kind of risky and rebellious. And
Yes. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you and I think a roommate go out to kind of do your part to help be a hero? You were kind of cleaning some of the heavy traffic areas, sanitizing those.
Oh yeah, that was me for sure.
That was you for sure.
Yeah, if I
Mom-
can clean my room, it's like a good day.
Okay. So instead of cleaning your room, you wouldn't clean the city.
Yeah, that was me.
Let's give her a hand. That's a hero right there. That's a hero.
What was that again? Remind me.
So, what compelled you to say, let me put some gloves, a mask, some goggles, and a couple of Germ-Max and some handy wipes to go wipe down stuff? What made you just go?
You should see these outfits. Like they're dope. Why wouldn't I want them?
Oh, you did it for the outfit.
Yeah, for the outfit.
Is that a woman response or what?
You can see. I wish you all had the book to flip through them and see this.
Please make sure you guys get the book. They are on sale here at the Left Bank Bookstore here in the heart of St. Louis. I want to make sure I get that out there for my man, Ryan.
What was your favorite photo in the book?
This might sound a little cheesy,
No, cheesy is simple.
Just a cover. This cover, because my fiance, she works at Barnes Jewish Hospital here. Now she doesn't work in the actual hospital. She does community engagement and she does education. But you don't really notice when you work outside of the hospitals, you kind of removed from what they actually go through, right? And I believe you were telling me that one of the photographers dedicated her safety and everything to stay at one of the hospitals.
The cover artist slept 1 month in a hospital. She got permission from the hospital to sleep a month there. She said by the second week, the doctors and the nurses and all the staff forgot that she was there. And the second she became invisible, she started to capture these award-winning images that this month have won like 5 different awards on like an international scale. One of them being one of the photos in the book, but it's just a COVID test. And she said she had to put the camera on the doctor's knee and photograph up to get the test. So she said the second I became, and she left her little kid at home, and she's based in Turkey in Ankara, the capital. So she said everyone was like, this is a bad mother, and saying all these things to her. And she also at the same time got permission from the Gogh, from the city, to photograph the empty subway systems. The train systems it's a huge country. There's like millions of people that go through these. This is empty completely.
Yeah.
And so she was the only one allowed in to photograph, this National Geographic photographer. And everyone thinks it's like New York, Chicago, London. They think whatever they know, they think that's where it's from. And that's why I like that about the cover. But if you read the text here, you can see it's actually Turkish.
I would have never known that.
Nobody knows
I would
that.
have never known this.
Literally
Thank you for teaching me Turkish. Yeah. Now, another chapter I enjoyed was the lockdown lifestyle, which some of us may still live in to this day. What was your lockdown lifestyle like?
My lockdown lifestyle was writing this book. Literally, I had to make so many technical changes on the site to accept the stories, to change the structure of the agreements, to get all of the information I needed to store the stuff. So you can like ask my parents, I was like up till like 1 a.m. fixing my product to like be able to capture and contain all this stuff. So I knew it was going to be historical, and I knew that people weren't thinking about that because I would go on Instagram and people are just sharing like the stupidest stuff. But then there was like, especially like when Black Lives Matter started really getting so intense, I was like, these photos are so epic that, and the majority of the end of the book are those pictures.
Yeah.
And because I don't know about what everyone in the audience thinks, but I think there was like a serious turning point when these statues in Richmond, Virginia started getting taken down. And this is actually like, this young photographer said, I was broke, I had no money in my bank account, but I wanted to photograph the removal of the statue, and he only found out the morning that it was getting removed.
Wow.
And he's like a young white guy, and he said, I never really like considered myself part of this, but then when I realized these things are right outside my house, and then he got really invested. So he asked his friend to borrow a drone. So this photo here, and every story, they say it, like you can read it and you'll see, but I got to interview all of them for our audiobook. It's on YouTube. I interviewed 100 people since January, and we recorded all of them reading their stories. A lot of work, a lot of personalities. But basically this drone broke when it flew in the air, and he had an LED light on it. Yeah, he had an LED light, so it hit this Confederate statue and it tumbled down. And he said, this is the only shot I got, and it was my friend's drone. I had no money to pay him back, and he was like really sad and gonna cry.
Well, yeah, he should. He should. That's awful friend to break his drum. Now, again on the lockdown lifestyle, let me ask you a serious question. What was your favorite lockdown food?
I don't know. Pasta, of course.
Pasta.
Yeah, I don't think we do have food in the book.
Okay.
More interesting food than pasta.
Pasta's good. Pasta's
I
good.
love pasta.
I like spaghetti.
Pasta for life.
Yeah. My favorite lockdown food was ice cream. Anybody else like a good ice cream? Yeah, ice cream is amazing. I wish it was healthier. Another thing we enjoyed doing during the lockdown was watching movies about being quarantined. Did anybody else do that? Watching a bunch of quarantine movies?
A little too
Yeah.
serious.
Y'all, man, it was amazing. We got popcorn. We were like, we were so American about it. I'm so sorry. We made a big night about it. We were rubbing feet and like, watching movies and popcorn, pizza, and ice cream. So it was great. But you
Yeah,
were
I was busy.
busy.
You're welcome.
Yeah. we needed that. We needed you. We needed you. Love and connection,
Yeah.
which is a big deal.
Very cute section. And then,
Yes.
this is one of the photos from it. From a wedding.
Yes.
They
Yes.
had to wear gloves.
Wow.
And there was like 7 people at this wedding, and it's super cute, this picture.
Yeah,
We have a few weddings. One of them actually is sad, it's in Ukraine. And they said, we never thought we'd have to do a wedding in the forest with none of our friends and family. Then when we went back to the audiobook to record the photographer, he's like, I'm in war. It's almost inconceivable for me to think of 2020 when we're in the middle of war.
Yeah.
And so it was like a big shock to me that I'm like, oh, this is the biggest event of our life. Like, of course, everybody wants to talk about it, and this guy is in the middle of war.
And he's like, news moves fast.
Yeah. And then they had maybe 7 people in their little backyard forest, and now God knows what they
You know,
can't even give birth in hospitals.
it's wild, right? That we went through that. My cousin got married. I want to say in 2020. She had to do it on Zoom, which was great because I didn't have to buy a ticket to go. I had to save some money.
Did anybody here
Did
get
you still
married?
drink champagne?
Oh, I definitely.
No, I
definitely.
didn't get
Any
married.
question?
No, I was just gonna say, the picture that I like about that subject is the, people were so desperate to touch and they couldn't, especially with the elderly.
Yeah.
The picture of the arms trying to go through plastic so they could hug their loved
Yeah.
one was really
Very
very
touching.
powerful.
Very. Yeah, the gloves, wearing gloves was a thing. I did that. I didn't have plastic gloves. I just had some old snow gloves. It was like still summertime. So I was going to the store using my gloves, trying to pick up stuff, and then I heard on the news, don't wear gloves because it then gets on your gloves. And it's like, oh, well, what do I do now? It was just a crazy time.
Yeah.
Now, it was unfortunate. A lot of my news came from Facebook.
Yeah.
Anybody else get all their news about COVID on Facebook? You guys were smart.
We're smarter.
That Facebook that was my news coverage. So let's fast forward now. You've written the book. You feel good about it. What's next?
Well, the book is now #1 new release on Amazon in 3 categories. Photojournalism, photo history, and photography in general. So when we first got photography, and I was like, cool, #1 new release. I sent it to my family, and I forget who said, and my mom was like, what happened? What happened? She didn't know what the screenshot with a big red circle around #1 new release.
Yeah.
So the rest of the family chat had to explain it to her. But then we got another one, which was photography and exhibitions, and I was like, I always wanted to do a museum out of this, and we did a big event in New York where people could walk and see all the different photos, and they bought some of the prints, and that was cool. And I was like, I imagine you could like go really experience this, and they were listening to headphones, like seeing the photo and listening to the photographer's voice, which I thought, wow, it could be an exhibition. Like that's next.
Yes,
And-
yes it is.
And then we went to DC. I actually gave an award to a journalist from NPR from the morning edition, and then we had photojournalism, #1 photojournalism. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm such a serious writer.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool because although we wanted these like cute photos, I was like, photojournalism, like that's people that go to war and the people who do all this serious stuff. And I was like, this is really serious.
Yeah.
It's not just like a photo book, coffee table book. It's a history book and it's journalism. So
Yes.
I'm not a journalist, but to be able to be considered as in that category was like so amazing. So
Of course.
I'm trying to like see what that means.
I think it means a lot of great things are in store for you. You took on a challenge that was needed.
But it started without me knowing. So I think like my lesson is if you think something's interesting, you have to start working on it, and then the opportunity comes. You can't just say, I want to write a book. Like, that would have never worked if I said I wanted to write a book. I said, I want to do something with these pictures, and then the book came out. It's really neat. So you gotta write your jokes and like keep them ready to go.
You know what? She's so right. She's so right. She's a wealth of knowledge. I understand you have some of your family members here. You have 4 sisters, correct?
Yes.
3.
3 sisters.
3.
She's the 4th.
Yeah.
Okay, because I do math. You're the sister. You're one of the sisters,
1,
right?
2, and then 3.
Okay. What is your fondest memory of Christina?
Oh, God.
She's a hustler through and through. Christina's like, just keep pushing through. You know, she's my inspiration. I'm the baby. She's my older sister. So I've always looked up to her. I've always followed her hustle, whether it's in New York or abroad or San Francisco or whatever. She's just the best.
Speeches about how great I am.
And like, she was like, I was her little doll. So, you know, day one.
You were her favorite.
Yeah, still am.
Yeah, still. Okay. What's your fondest memory of Christina?
That's just smart. She doesn't see the book.
Do you want me to say that? The book. That's the best part of it.
I'm kidding. She has 3 really cute kids, so
What does that have to do with
they
you?
always have to like
I don't know. I've always like followed her. So we're both the middle child, so we like get each other. Again, sandwiched between the oldest and the youngest. But I remember wanting to hang out with her. I always thought she was cool, and her friends in high school, which some of them were doing. And then I followed her to George Washington University to college.
Really?
Yeah, she's always inspired me to don't think anything is out of reach. Don't think, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Nike should endorse her.
What's the worst thing that can happen?
Exactly.
If you get shut down, okay, great. There's another opportunity right
Well,
there.
That's something to say like about perfection. Is like this book, and it was very hard for my team. I was like the anti-perfection person. Every person wanted to spend time longer in every single part of this bookmaking, and it took 2 years. And nothing was ever perfect. Nothing was ever good enough for anybody working on this in my company. And I was like, it's 70% good. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. If we don't finish it, and that's why we're the first photo book on 2020. 2 years later, like nobody could have done that yet.
Exactly.
And that's because people are obsessed with being perfect, and that's why nothing happens.
And that's why nothing.
And it's psychological. Like it's like I have to like coach them. Like it's okay. Like this sentence is finished.
And I think that might be a product of social media. No one wants
Yeah.
to post anything unless it's perfect. You take 1 million photos of the same pose, filters, and all that kind of stuff. Hashtags.
Yeah.
You gotta get the likes. But you said nope. We need the truth is needed.
Yeah.
Perfection can wait. And we thank you for that. One more time for this. So,
You missed one.
I was gonna say we.
No, it's okay.
She's-
We really need to hear from her.
We
She's
should
a sister.
definitely. You were first.
She's a matron. Sorry, Mom.
My fondest memory of Kiki.
Kiki?
Oh, yeah, we call
Oh,
her Kiki.
Kiki, yeah.
Oh, we got digging Kiki.
Actually, Kiki's founder is over there.
Kiki's hi.
One of our cousins, and I don't know how the name started.
I don't either.
She actually hated being called Kiki when she was younger. Like really hated it. And now if we call her Christina, she gets weirded out. She doesn't really like it. So.
I can see that.
But now you can call me author.
Right.
Authoress.
Yeah, okay. Throw spice to it. Yeah. Authoress. I got you. I'm talking about.
We're waiting soon.
No,
Fondest memory.
thank you.
Oh,
So
my
I-
fondest memory? Honestly, when you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is we're really close in age. And one day we were playing in the crib. And this is the one I always remember. And I accidentally hit a picture on the wall and it came down and sliced her head open. on the picture frame.
And
She wasn't
so-
mad at all. She didn't cry. I felt so bad, but she was just like, whatever, and just kept going on. So
So then I was just like, let me build a photo company.
Yeah.
That's what she does.
It's a metaphor for her life.
Revenge.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bye.
Give it up for Sarah Spark.
You're like, if you don't know you're calling, here's a picture.
But she never gave up. She's, there's been so many times where it's been so hard, and she's just like keeps going, which is huge because, she's like, oh, I'm going to create a book, I'm going to be the author of a book. And we were all like, okay, cool. And then it's like become this huge thing. And to see her come from where she started, like as a project in graduate school, to like where she is now, it's a pretty incredible process.
That's an interesting take because when we hear about books, we talk to the authors, we only hear from their side, which is an amazing side, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But for those around you, your support system, your group, how did they help you get through this? What was their words? How did they keep you encouraged? Because I'm sure this was a difficult task.
Well, actually, I did like a kind of failed project in the beginning. And so I decided that I wanted to donate photo prints to nursing homes in the beginning of COVID. So I called Shutterfly and I was like, hey, I have all these pictures. You have your printing thing. Like, I'll give you the pictures. You print them. We'll send them to these nursing homes. So then the VPs answered the emails. My mom's in a nursing home. I'm like, I would love to do this. So we were sending 20,000 prints to nursing homes, and none of them made it there. And I was like, oh my God, this was my idea. Like, this is so embarrassing. And it was in the newspaper and everything. And I kept calling the nursing homes like, did you get it? Did you get it? No, for like 2 months. And then they were putting out press releases. Shutterfly is donating. It's like on video, but they don't know that. But Shutterfly is donating prints to all these nursing homes. So I was like, oh, that sucks. But it felt so rewarding to do something with these pictures and like help people. So then I kept trying like little things, and then that's how the culmination like ended up happening. But
Wow.
Yeah.
And have you always had a thing for philanthropy or helping or donating things? Like, you seem like you're just such a helpful, giving person. That's all your personality?
I don't know. You can
Yes.
ask my
Yes.
That's the
childhood
biggest part.
friends
The
about
biggest
who
part,
they-
right?
If everyone forgets your birthday, guess who's gonna remember?
Kiki.
Is it good?
Always.
Wrapped beautifully, very creatively.
Very
Yeah.
thoughtful.
And when it comes to her birthday, we're like,
We're like, we forgot.
I remember I
what are we
texted
gonna
her.
do?
His birthday's
I'll send you all a calendar invite.
Yeah, she's always thinking about other people, and she makes it personal. Like, she really gets to know the person's personality, and she will give them a very thoughtful gift.
Which I think is a lot in this book too. It's getting, the photographers to give their side of the story and what they were experiencing and feeling, which brings a whole other aspect. And then adding in that audio. When she told me that, I was like, that is the coolest thing I think I've heard. I think that's awesome.
Isn't it?
Because those are the people that were experiencing it, and you don't know their side, you just see the picture. So to get the full story, it gives you a better experience.
It brings it full circle. And I think the book is amazing. The idea is amazing. I'm so glad you took on the challenge.
The challenge took me on.
The challenge took you on,
Yeah.
right? And Kiki doesn't know how to say no. So if there was something you really wanted the people to get about the book, what's that underlying message that you want people to take home after reading this book?
Well, I see already that we all forgot all the important lessons that we learned. One of them being how creative we actually are as human beings. And then 2, being how resilient we are as human beings. So I think our humanity was tested more than I've ever seen in my lifetime. Who are you as a human being? What does that mean to live on this earth? And seeing people on the edge, literally on the edge of their humanity, and all these 200 photos reminds you like, oh, I can do that. Oh, like, I think this is hard. Look what this person did. And and so I think whenever you have a hard day, and even like, I signed some books earlier for my dad's like medical group. I wrote the healthcare chapters. Like, when you have a hard day, go look at what these guys did.
Yeah.
And these ladies did. So I think that's the point, and that's accessible for you. So you just pick that up, you open it, and then you look at that page, and you say, oh yeah, that's right.
A reminder that it's not so bad. Because we've seen.
Nor that you can rise up to the challenge.
Rise up.
You can handle it.
Exactly.
You handled this, like you can handle other stuff.
So now that Christina's gonna open up a church. Do you feel that? Do you ever feel like pinch yourself like this is real?
No, because I feel like these people are amazing. I just made it for them. Like the platform was created, but this is not Christina talking about herself. This is 100 people talking about their stories, some of which literally they could go to jail for, they could get killed for, they were just after an explosion, they could have gotten exploded, they're underwater in the sea, and so their NYPD police car is on fire. Like these are not a joke, like these pictures.
Yes.
So they are amazing. It's amazing to build something that when other people can like do something on something you make. I think that's what's cool. Like everyone should be getting better around you. You know, it's not about you. Like if I wrote a book about my life or something, like I'd be bored. But it's nice that it's not about me.
It's amazing that she was able to see the beauty in something that's really tragic. There was an opportunity here that you took on, or that was brought to you, and you were capable of packaging it together for everyone to share. And you're so humble about it, which is a beautiful thing, especially in today's time, because a lot of people look for fame and fortune and they think about me, but that's not what this book is about. This book is not about me, it's about us. The book is about those who risk their lives to capture these moments, to put this story together, to show us what resilience looks like. I think you talk about this very well. Such an honor to sit.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Okay. It's also a history book written by the people.
By the people.
And it's not a history book written by an oppressor,
Yeah.
say, whatever.
Someone without an agenda.
Without an agenda.
That's the big thing. We don't want an agenda. We want truth.
And this whole thing, Kiki, the entire time, did not mention herself once, like she said. Very selfless. She saw herself as a vehicle to connecting the world.
Yes.
This was a hopefully once in a lifetime thing, for us and for generations that brought people together. And for someone to go out there and show us how we're all connected versus how we're all different, and and not putting herself in the middle. She's just like, this is what I got to do, and I'm going to do it, and here it is.
And I think that's amazing that she, like you said, she just did it. They just did it. We all just did it.
And they're all like, all these people are sitting on Instagram. Like Instagram doesn't care about you. Like your photos are there, and then one day Instagram's gonna shut down, and then it's gonna be like, what happened to all those pictures? They're gone.
Exactly.
That's what freaked me out, and that's why I spent 10 years working on that, because I was like, one day Instagram, something better is gonna happen, and then what happens to all these amazing
Instagram
stories?
will become MySpace. Yeah. Remember that? Tag and everything else.
Shut it down.
They're just gonna shut it down, and all your photos of your kids are gonna be gone.
You never know. But now we have a book that is paper, and we have it. And it's here.
Let's just hope the government doesn't decide to start burning books, right?
They were very close.
We're so close to that. It makes your arm itch a little, doesn't it?
We gotta zoom out. This book is a zoom out, especially us, like, we got stuck in so many different stories, and it went inside that one story. Like for example, Black Lives Matter was very important, but then we didn't know about all the other horrible things happening around the world because we were like so in that one. So then you go and you're like, oh wow, like these people are dealing with that, these people are dealing with that, and then it's like it reshapes how you think about 2020. So my goal was that in like 20 years, 50 years, if this does become like that textbook that people refer to, they're not gonna remember that narrative. They're gonna remember this narrative, and this is a positive, inspiring, exciting, happy one, versus like that me versus you kind of thing.
Because we got to get out of that, folks. We got to get out of the me versus you. It's us versus us. You know, we got to help each other. We got to be there for one another.
Yeah.
The Black Lives Matter movement was huge here in St. Louis. I'm sure you guys all know. I personally got a lot of things when I was looting and rioting.
Arch.
Yeah, I almost. I just needed a few more trucks.
Why don't you call us?
Wow, sis. I knew you was gonna ride.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Your sister a gangster. No, you're better than our mom and dad. She a thug for life. Yeah. So you when they call when some stuff going down.
Her husband walked away.
Yeah, he knows.
I'll call him.
Yeah.
They're not even got a situation.
Okay, so
If you would write a book, what would you write?
me, she's ready to ask this question.
I am ready.
If I was going to write a book, what would it be? A very cliche answer. It'd probably be love. I think what I would want more than anything is for everybody to experience life. The world can be harsh, it can be cold, and sometimes all you can do is laugh. You know, if you can find a way to laugh at some of the pain, it makes you get through the next day. So I commend the photographers, commend everyone who helped contribute to making this masterpiece we have here, this beautiful work of art, because this gives us hope. The same way I want comedy to give us hope. You know, we should all laugh a little bit, we should all smile a little bit, we should all love a little harder, right? So that's what I write my book about.
So how can we remind ourselves to, like, how do you remind ourselves?
Hey, I rehearsed it in the car.
Is it about the process of laughing, like how you can laugh, or you trigger yourself to laugh?
You probably can. What I tend to do is, because I suffer with depression and anxiety, so I smoke weed. But when I'm not smoking, I make it my mission to find something positive. I don't want to rest on the negative. And you can easily do that. But I think if you work to find a positive, then it gives you some of that glimmer of hope. And sometimes the positive is funny. You know, sometimes it's okay to laugh at things that are horrible. Like, it would really suck if they were putting bodies in trash bags. But they found boxes. See, it's a beautiful twist if you just look at it. You know? Yeah, everyone was shut down in their homes and couldn't see their loved ones, but the roads were clear. And some of us were not essential, but we still had to go into the office. McDonald's was still open a little bit. DoorDash. What would we do without DoorDash, right?
I actually put it on free.
Did they eat your fries?
I don't think they liked my food supply.
They are essential workers, these people.
Yes.
They become essential workers.
Exactly. You become essential. You make yourself essential, okay? If working at a restaurant, or you're working at a hospital, your help cleaning the streets, or your help getting old women across the streets, go to dialysis, whatever you do, you could make yourself essential. Me, I go to comedy clubs and I make sure people pay their 2-drink minimum. I did my part.
Yes.
You know?
So if people want to go to your comedy in St. Louis, where do they go?
So you can definitely follow me on Instagram at comedian_Brandon Taylor, TikTok comedian Brandon T. Here in St. Louis, we have 3 clubs. The Funny Bone Westport, which is probably the most historical one here in St. Louis. The Healing Comedy Club, which is at the Galleria Mall. And then they just opened the 3rd location for the Funny Bone in St. Charles on 5th Street. So if you're in any of those areas, you can definitely come get some comedy. I will be at one of them. And if I see you there and you have this book, I'll buy you a drink. That's my word.
We could just like make it a necklace.
Yeah.
It's a piece of
A
jewelry
lanyard?
also.
Yeah.
See, it's like a bracelet.
It's the gift that doesn't stop. You know?
Well, I can't wait to hear what everybody's favorite photos are, but I think we should do a few minutes of question answer.
Yes. We have any questions? Please raise your hand.
Anyone about my sister?
I love your sister. I like your earrings too, though.
I want to remind everyone to spend their,
Yeah, I know.
This might be a stupid question. How did you choose what photos to include?
So we have up to 15,000 photos submitted a day on Scopio. Next month, we're having an app that will be, everyone can download on their phone. 10 years ago, I wanted to build an app, but I didn't have enough money. So it took me 10 years until I had enough months where I could build an app, because it's a very complicated thing, more than you would think. And I've been building other things, but an app is super hard. So, but that app is coming out next month, and hopefully we'll get to millions and millions. But now I have 1 million photos on the website from 190 countries and 15,000 people that have gone to the website, uploaded their photos, added their information, and put a cute little story. And the stories are incredible. So these are just 200, but I have hundreds and thousands of stories that will make you cry, laugh, all the feels.
So get ready for part 2.
I don't know. This one took a lot out of me emotionally. Like I would be interviewing. There's this one story of a woman that cleans the hospital, and she's in Egypt, and she's like, everyone thinks that we're like, I forget, like we're like the hospital cleaners, we're nothing. But I take pride in what I do, and I know that I'm helping during this time. And you can see in the photo how proud this lady is. And I was reading it, and I just started sobbing. And then there's somebody else, like in Moscow, the guy, there's like a gun to his head. And I was like, and he was like, I was like, are you okay? Like, while you're telling me the story? And then Natalie Kelly from Dallas, Texas, she went to Barnes & Noble's, found the book, saw her page, started crying, sent me a video, and was like, I never thought I would be able to be like in a bookstore. So there's 100 of these people that are experiencing that all over the world and feeling so proud. And that's wild. But that could, like, those stories are like hundreds of thousands on my site. So I feel responsible for them. Yeah. I don't know what their home is going to be, but I'm sure there'll be unique things for each kind of thing.
One more time.
So if it came down to 2 photos, was the story the reason you would pick one over the other?
Well, some of them were incomplete because, again, people feel very shy to do anything apparently in life. And they'll give us a half story with photos. Like, seriously, these are the most talented people. They're too shy to tell us the story. So they would give us like half of the story. Then we'd go like, this picture of in England is of a bus. This lady has incredible portraits of mental health. And I love those portraits, but then this story was more interesting. So we went back to her, and she added more very sad information on the story. So we're like, okay, that needs to be told. But then I was super persistent on making sure every region of the world was covered, and that was very hard, and I had to battle with that. But I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss things. And apparently I missed Jordan, the country my parents from, so that one I missed. But we didn't miss other things, like the fires, and there's ones in like Colombia. The environmental photos were very hard to track down. So that was hard. And I just kept thinking, like, where did we miss? One of my relatives was telling me, in Italy, you missed the one of people waving on the balconies. And I was like, well, I have 4 other ones in Italy. He's like, no, that was the only one that people remember when people were singing on the balconies. Yeah. So everyone has that kind of memory of that thing they saw, and we tried to get that thing in here. The grocery stores, like the sanitation, people praying, the different patterns. And then we saw weird stuff like this, and we're like, okay, we have to get that. These are tobacco leaves, women. Yeah, random.
This is Gogh photo. It's probably one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, this one.
I don't know if anyone else did the whole grab a bunch of toilet paper, but I definitely did that. We have a question here.
Real quick. Thank you. This is amazing. So thank you for what you've done. So often we just want to move forward and not remember, you know, and this takes us back. And it takes us back in a real way that we haven't really seen, you know, like our media doesn't show people in Nairobi and Kenya in schools with masks, etc. So thank you for that. The question that I have is, where my mind is going is like, in museums, like, is there an exhibit of the year time stopped, you know? Is that something that you're thinking about, planning to do?
Yeah, so I recorded everybody's reading their stories. So now that's on YouTube and our podcast. We have most of them have videos associated. So we did our first pilot in New York last week. We had 200 people come, including the executive director of Doctors Without Borders, the president of HarperCollins. And so everybody looked at the photo, listened to the story. And then I was like, that's my beta. We have a creative director in LA that has created a whole model of what it would look like in a physical space to experience these things, whether it's like a revolution or whether it's people getting married. I want you to feel that when you're there. There's this one, which is such a powerful photo of this Hulk doll after the Lebanon explosion. And if you read the story, you'll start crying. But they basically say like our childhood, everybody's like childhood is stripped from them in this country. And so we got the Hulk doll in New York, and we were making people hold it while they were reading the story, and it just like pulls you farther into that story. So we actually like looked up what it would cost to build out a thing like that, and it would be like well, we did it in LA. It would be at least $200,000 to build an experience where people are walking through. But what we're doing is looking for spaces first, and then we're gonna, just like the Christina way, I'm like trying to do it, and if the world gives it to me, I'll do it. Or it could be in another country, like, or anywhere, literally anywhere. But I prepared all the materials. I have all the audio, I have all the video, I have all the ideas. We have the model. I have a deck for sponsorship. I have no idea how to do anything like that. I called St. Louis Art Museum. They said no. I called the Toledo Museum in Ohio, and they said, people are too sensitive to COVID, and in a few years they'll appreciate your work. So I'm getting like a little mixed feelings, but I would love to do something. I think it will happen. I just don't know if, like, I already feel in this room and the jokes, are people even ready for these jokes yet? So we'll see which audience is okay with experiencing this at like that intensity. But I would not want to like do it in the like basic way. I want to do something like totally immersive for people.
I recently saw the Vincent Van Gogh art exhibit. I don't know if you guys have too. It's very beautiful. I think that's what's next for this. If
Why
not
do you
tomorrow,
think that? I'm wondering.
I think that way because we are still celebrating Vincent Van Gogh, which is beautiful.
But how is the book like on Vincent Van Gogh level? That's my question.
Because as we said, it's a story. These are real moments that, as you said, need to be told. These stories need to be told. We're not going to hear them unless we meet these people or we read this book. And so as we continue to support this book and promote this book, there will come a time where this book is larger than life and it will have to be in the book. We're just waiting on that moment.
Wow, that's crazy. I never thought that when I started it, but when I hear people say that, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna prepare it just in case.
Yeah.
So
Start sketching and taking notes.
Doing it. We have a whole wall. I have a whole wall with every photo on the back on the wall, organized, figuring out how to do it.
Oh, that sounds messy.
Inspiring.
There we go. We have any other questions over here?
We actually have one from the virtual audience, which I think this will be
That's Tony.
our last question, and then we can move into the signing. So Maureen is asking, are you in touch with anyone still from their photos? Did you build a friendship from the photo or story?
Yeah, I have one of the photographers is in Naples, and he's like my friend now. And well, a lot of them are my friends, but he like gave me recommendations for Naples, and he's a Vogue photographer, and I'm like, you have to give me a portrait because you see the portraits he takes are incredible, and I've seen everybody's portfolio, so I'm like, oh, I would love to like actually, like, they're kind of like celebrities, and then when you talk with them and you build it, one thing I have noticed is nobody's a self-promoter. So even if you have 1 million followers, which some people have in here, or they're famous around like their community, it's like they're like so hidden. And so I had to do a lot of like coaching. And I feel like that's a lot of my job, is being like, this is on a global scale. This is good enough for this. And I mentioned the one about Natalie when she went to Dallas to Barnes and Nobles. And this book is in Walmart, Target, Barnes and Nobles now, everywhere. Local bookstores.
But put it here.
Local bookstores, but it's wild. So so they're sending me all these cute little thing like messages like that. And I think we're tied forever. Like I'm getting messages, can you send it to this person? I want the cover artist wants to send it to the head of her government.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned Doctors Without Borders came. So I'm like, wow, this is like a little step up. But in their mind, they want the most important like thing to happen with this, and I'm helping them do that. So it's been really cool.
All right, another giant round of applause. All right, I want to thank you all so much for making it this evening. Thank you for coming out. We do have copies available for sale at the desk. We thank you for supporting